Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online build video with me, Sherman. Today guys, I bring you a Elder build, of course, redone and revamped for the new CP system, and actually got some other changes as well to fit the playstyle. So I hope you guys like it. This is the Dragon's Rage. So, taking a look at the build, we are an Argonian Dragon Knight. I think Argonian just fits the aesthetic of the build more than anything. You know how to be an Argonian. There are other races that would do better with this for damage purposes, but I like the Argonian, like I said, aesthetically. 64 points into stamina. This is going to give us a 30k stamina, max stamina pool, with a 25k max health. And then if you look over here, we have 1175 stam recovery with a 45-42 weapon damage, and that is flat out the door, and then 45% crit. We do have 1400 physical pin with 16,000 spell resist and 12,000 physical. Moving on, we are using the Thief Mundustone. This is going to give us a higher crit chance, which is going to be good for us overall. And then we are using Major Savagery to get that higher critical as well, and it's a flat bonus. We also get Major Prophecy, and then we have the Dubious Camera Throne as our food. There are other foods you can get, but this is just cheap. It's inexpensive, not too hard to get, so this is what I would suggest using. As you can see, it gives you 2520 max stamina with 2730 max health and 278 stam recovery. Moving on now to the gear. Starting with our monster set, and then we'll move on to the next 5-piece set, and then to the final 5-piece set. So starting with the monster set, we are using Spawnamafala. Now this isn't a widely used set by a lot of people in the game because of it's kind of clunky on how it works. You have to heavy attack with it, but it's a really good set. So the 1-piece bonus is max stamina. 2-piece, when you deal damage with a fully charged heavy attack, you create a web for 10 seconds that deals 1608 poison damage every second to all enemies within 4 meters and reduces the movement speed of those enemies by 50%. The effect can occur once every 10 seconds, so you can pretty much keep this up every rotation. It's really easy. The next set, now this is a set that I like to use for this build. You don't have to use it, but it is the Gladiator set. It is a craftable set. It is in Hughesbane, in the Dark Brotherhood area. I don't remember the name on the map, but it is a craftable set. As you can see, 2-piece, 3-piece weapon crit, 4-piece weapon damage, 5-piece. You gain 1475 weapon damage against targets who are below 25% health. And that is to all things you do. So you get that 1475 damage to all abilities. Light and heavy attacks and your abilities get this 1475. It's kind of like an execute. It's really nice. DKs don't have execute, by the way. Moving on now to the last and final set, and this is one that's also easy to get, and that is Witch Knights. Now this drops in the Hawthorne DLC. It just came out over the summer. As you can see, the 2, 3, and 4-piece is all weapon damage, and then the 5-piece increase your weapon damage by 369 against enemies inflicted with a poison damage effect. You will have poison damage effect on target non-stop with the way this build works. Really good. So the way I'm going to go over the traits and enchants and what armor types are set into the gear is really simple. I'm going to start with the armor types. Then I'm going to move on to traits and enchants and just kind of go from there. So armor types, heavy chest is going to be your best option. As you can see, I have it reinforced. This gives you an extra like 1,000 resistance, which doesn't seem like much, but it actually plays really well into your survivability in the long run. And it does stack with all your other armor as well. So on the belt, we are using a light belt. Now this, in any armor type, has the lowest armor rating possible, so making this light isn't going to really affect your resistances when you make this reinforced. And then we are running 5 medium on all the other pieces. Enchant wise, we are running 3 tri-stat enchants here, as you can see there, and that gives us a good balance of magicka, health, and stamina. And then on the smaller pieces, we're running max stamina. On all the pieces but the chest, we're running divines, and that's to increase the effectiveness of our Mundus Stone. And then, of course, that reinforced there, that really plays well into it. So, on to the jewelry. Jewelry traits: 2 Trirune rings and 1 Bloodthirsty necklace. So the 2 Trirune rings are going to give you those extra stats. The Bloodthirsty is going to increase your weapon and spell damage against targets under 90% health by up to 350 weapon damage. So, and spell damage. So this just amplifies your damage really well. And then on the 2 Trirune rings, we have weapon damage enchants, and on the necklace as well. So all weapon damage enchants with the 2 Trirune and the Bloodthirsty. Moving on to weapons. Starting with the main hand, we are using a sword, and then in the offhand, we're also using sword. But we're using an infused sword here with a poison damage enchant, and we have something in our CP that allows us to keep this enchant proccing the poison status effect really good. So this is going to be really good for us with keeping this 5-piece bonus applied. The next sword is Nirnhoned. Now, if you don't have access to Nirnhoned, because you do have to change the trait for this, you can use pretty much anything like Sharpen, Precise, will work fine. But Nirnhoned is going to give you the overall best benefit because it increases your offhand weapon damage by 1535, and that you get an extra little bit of from this applied to your main hand for the dual wield passive. Moving on to the bow now. The bow, we're using an infused bow with weapon damage enchant. Now, the way this bow works and the fact that we're using a Maelstrom bow, which I'll get to in a second, really plays well in this setup because you will have the extra 452 weapon damage all the time pretty much if you keep the rotation good and clean. Okay, the Maelstrom bow itself is called Thunderous Volley, and it increases the damage of your volley deals by 430 each tick. The bonus increases by 143 every time volley ticks up to a maximum of 8 times. So it actually just gets stacking damage, which is really nice. Alright, now, moving on to our skills. Now, I'm going to be real clear about this. Whatever you're using, you want to unlock the passives for. So if you're using Ardent Flame, any Ardent Flame abilities, any class abilities, you're going to want to unlock all the passives. Weapons, same thing. Dual wield bow, unlock the passives. Same thing with armor, world skills, guild skills, alliance, and of course your racials. In crafting, alchemy, medicinal use, this is really good to get. Now, a lot of people seem to have trouble getting these unlocked, these next passes I'm talking about, because it requires you to craft. So you do have to use crafting. You have to get this your alchemy up to, I think it's like 35% or something like that to get both or all 3 of these unlocked, or it's even 50%. And then on provisioning, Gourmand and Connoisseur are also really good. This adds 20 minutes to your food and drink. Really good for the long-term play that you're going to be doing with your character anyway. So, alright, now that we got those passes out of the way, let's go over the skills we have equipped on our bar. And these are the skills I suggest you primarily use when you're running like dungeons or trials. Unless you need to swap out some other skills, these are the ones you're going to use most of the time anyways. So, starting with the first ability, we have Venomous Claw. Now this deals damage up front. It deals poison damage over time, over 14 seconds, and then the poison seeps into the target, dealing increased damage. The longer it lasts, dealing 20% more damage every 2 seconds. And enemies hit with this are, by the initial hit, are afflicted with the poison status effect. Now remember, almost every light attack you do, you're going to get the poison status effect, and then every time you use this, you're going to get poison status effect. And then your bloodthirsty is also going to give you the poison status effect because this can proc it. So this one, you hit the target so many times, dealing 1294 physical damage each hit. The final hit deals 300% more damage, and it heals you for 69% of the damage caused. So this is like a nice way to kind of keep yourself sustained through health, but also through increasing your damage output. Next up, we have Noxious Breath. Now this is an awesome ability that should be used more widely than most people did in the past, but it should be definitely used more widely now. So this one deals 6,977 poison damage up front, and an additional 13,580 poison damage over 14 seconds. And it is an AoE cone, has a 10-meter range, and a cone in front of you. It also afflicts the enemies with Major Breach, reducing physical and spell resistance by 5,948. And that is actually really good. It's like 6k penetration right there. Boom. Next ability will also keep your enchant proccing for poison damage, and that is Deadly Cloak. So this one, it basically lasts for 10 seconds, and it reduces your damage taken from area of attack damage by 20%, but it also ticks damage every second for 1382 to all enemies within 5 meters, and it lasts for the duration of that 10 seconds. Next ability we have is Flames of Oblivion. Now this does deal flame damage, but that's okay. You activate it and it fires fireballs every at 2 enemies every 5 seconds, dealing 7,357 flame damage. And then while slotted, you get Major Prophecy and Major Savagery, increasing both spell and weapon critical by 2629. And this does scale off your highest offensive stat, so in this case your stamina and your stamina damage. Next ability we have on our bar, and this is one I like to use all the time, and that is Flawless Dawnbreaker. Great AoE damage over time ability with really heavy damage up front. So the initial hit does 11,259 damage. It does hit in a cone, and then it will tick damage, and it deals an additional 14,000 over 6 seconds. After activating, your weapon damage is increased by 300 for 20 seconds, and this is a super cheap ultimate, so you'll be able to keep this up almost every 20 seconds. Moving on to the back bar, first ability we have is Barb Trap. Now this is one that not a lot of people use anymore for some reason, but I like to use it with this build. It deals physical damage up front, it deals 15,000 damage over 18 seconds. It does take a minute or 1.5 seconds for it to arm, and it lasts 1 minute before activation. But if you do your rotation right, this will trigger every time you put it down. So it also grants you Minor Force, increasing critical damage by 10% for the duration of 60 seconds, and then or 18 seconds, sorry. And then enemies who activate the trap are immobilized for 2 seconds. Next ability is Poison Injection, also an effective way to proc the poison status effect. Not as much as your enchant will, but it deals 3,000 damage or 4,000 damage up front, and then an additional 8,000 damage over 10 seconds, and it deals 100% more damage to enemies under 50% health. So when you get them down to below 25%, they're actually taking 75% more damage because of, well, they're taking the 50% more damage, but then they're getting that extra 1,400 weapon damage on top of that, which cranks this damage up a lot. Next ability is Endless Hail. This just deals damage every second for 12 seconds in an area of effect of 5 meters. and it has a 28-meter range at which you can cast it from, and it lasts, of course, for the 12 seconds. All right. Well, 14 seconds, but -2 because of the delay. Next up, we have Molten Armaments. This is a great ability. Again, not a lot of people use this on a stamina build because you're not doing a lot of heavy attacks, but the nice thing is that it does give you that major brutality and major sorcery to you and your members within 28 meters of you, and then your own damage with heavy attacks is increased by 50% while active. You will be doing a heavy attack every rotation. Then we have Flames of Oblivion again. This is where you're going to primarily cast this ability from, but we have it slotted here, of course, for that major prophecy, major sorcery, and that's why we do have it on both bars. And then last but not least, we have Standard of Might. Now, this is another good ability to use, Ultimate, but it costs 250. It deals flame damage every second for 20 seconds. It applies Major Defile, reducing the healing received and health recovery of the enemy by 16%. And then standing in the area increases your damage done and reduces the damage taken by 15%, which is really nice, and it's a synergy. So, that is it for the skills. Now let's move on to the champion points. And with all my builds, I'm going to have like a standard on the green, guys, because there's not a whole lot of choices in there for things that you can take that you can have active all the time that are going to be really worthwhile, to be honest. So, primary ones I like to use: Rationer. This one adds 10 minutes or 30 minutes to your food duration and your drink duration per stage, so or total, so you get an extra 30 minutes there. Then we have Liquid Efficiency, and this is whenever you use a potion, you have a 10% chance not to consume one. This can save you money and resources. And then next up we have Steed's Blessing. This increases your out of combat movement speed by a total of 20% when you have it maxed out, which is really nice. And then of course, last but not least, Professional Upkeep reduces the cost of repairing your armor by 1% per stage. There are other ones in here that you could use, but a lot of them are more for like harvesting or crafting or thievery or Dark Brotherhood stuff. Not a lot are for combat. So. Alright, we're going to go ahead and jump over to the blue tree. In the blue tree, when it comes to the slotted ones, Fighting Finesse is really good. Increases your critical damage and critical healing done by 2%. Then we have Deadly Aim, increases your damage done with single target attacks by 2%. Then we have the Thaumaturge, which increases your damage done with damage over time effects by 2% per stage. So these are 10% damage increases along with this 10% critical damage. And then of course we have the Area of Effect one, which is 10% Biting Aura. And you want to mainly have these slotted because that's going to give you your greatest damage output. When it comes to the passives here, getting the Precision, Tireless Disciple, and then the Extended Might ones that deal with stamina primarily, so like Piercing, Battle Mastery, and Mighty are going to be really good. You don't have to get these two. I do because of the flame damage and what it can do for you. And then of course, I do also take the Bless for the healing done, because we are using a healing ability that we can boost the snot out of the healing done. Alright. So, moving on to the red tree. There's, again, not one that you have a lot in here that you can really use for some things, but in this case we are using the Rejuvenation to give us the extra health, magic, and stamina recovery of 150. We have Survival Instincts. This is while afflicted with a status effect, your own combat skills cost 5% less per stage. Not something you're going to see a lot of in PvE, but it does happen, so getting that reduced cost is really nice. And then Expert Evasion. Your next roll dodge is cost free, and then it can happen every 30 seconds. And then of course, last but not least, Bloody Renewal. Really good for restoring that stamina whenever you kill an enemy, and that's 1500 stamina, so you don't run out very often. And then when it comes to the passives, Over time, just unlock all the yellow ones. It's going to help you a lot. And that goes for all trees. Just unlock all the yellow star passives. Yeah, I didn't unlock the Magica here, but it does help out later on. Then, of course, over here, you know, getting them will help you in somewhat of the long run. All right, so that's it for that stuff. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to pop this target. And this is going to show you basically what this would look like if you were in a group with every possible buff in the game, which isn't going to happen too often. But this is what your stats will look like then. You have 3,000 max stamina, 27k health, 17k magicka with 1349 stamina recovery, and as you can see, 5473 weapon damage with a 51% crit. Now, when you're totally buffed up, when it comes to your weapon damage itself, you actually get up to about 7,000 weapon damage, which is just insane. So you end up with a lot of weapon damage. Now, when it comes to DPS or damage per second, this build, the best I have pulled is about 52k DPS on the dummy, and that's the full, like, taking the dummy and killing it. Now, I've only done the rotation about 5 times, and that was my best. The lowest I was doing was about 44k DPS, but simple rotation, as I said, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that. We're going to do it on this dummy here. So you start on the back bar. You want to make sure you have your buff for weapon damage up. You're going to cast your Flames of Oblivion. Then you're going to start with your trap, light attack, poison injection, light attack, endless hail, light attack, swap bars, go into your poison thing, light attack, rapid strike, light attack, noxious breath, light attack, and then deadly cloak, light attack, or deadly cloak, and then actually heavy attack. The reason you're going to do the heavy attack is to get your monster set to proc, and then you're going to go right into, rapid strikes, and you're going to do 3 of those with light attacks in between, and then you're going to swap back to the back bar and go through it all over again. But when you swap to the back bar, you don't have to cast Flames of Oblivion first time. You can actually cast it later. You're going to focus on the other abilities first. So I'm going to do a quick rundown of this, showing you guys in action, so you can see for yourself. And you can see I just ate my abilities cast. Oops, I did that wrong. And then when you do the heavy attack, make sure you get that heavy attack off. Otherwise, it screws the rotation up and it screws up your damages. But that's pretty much it for the build, guys. I hope you guys liked it. I really like playing this build. I do have this character on, or this setup on live. I play it all the time. I don't have the full Hawthorne set yet, though. I'm still working on it. But everything else I have as is. And this build is amazing for dungeon clears. In trials, it's really good, but it really depends on the trial, and it's really good for trials with a lot of trash in it. So, like, Halls of Fabrication, Hellrot Citadel, Asylums, not the Asylum Sanctorium, sorry. Ethereum Archive, and the Maw Lorcage, the new Sunspire. The ones it's not good in is really just 2, and that is, well, it's good, but it's not as good, and that is the Clockwork City trial. I don't remember the name, and then of course the Cloud Rest. It's not that great in those. It can still be good. Damage wise, it's great. But what I mean by good is this build is made for clearing trash really effectively. So it like without having the trash, it kind of is a little lackluster in my opinion, but it's still amazing. I mean, still pulls really high numbers, and it pulls even better numbers if you have Reliquin instead of the 5-piece body set. You have a 5-piece Reliquin on the body. Definitely improves its DPS by quite the margin. So, but again, like I said, that's it for the build. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you guys know what's coming next. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. And if you do subscribe, I do suggest you click that notification bell to be notified when I'll post new videos. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in game. Bye.